Hello, my little story lovers, and welcome back to our magical story corner. Today, we're journeying into a classic tale that many of you might know, but with our own special twist. It's the story of a sweet girl, a beautiful red scarf, and a lesson she learned that she would never, ever forget. So, snuggle up, get comfy, and let's begin our adventure with Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, in a cozy little cottage on the edge of a great green forest, lived a very kind and obedient little girl. She was loved by everyone who knew her, but no one loved her more than her dear grandmother. For the little girl's birthday, her grandmother, who was very clever with a needle and thread, knitted her a beautiful, vibrant red scarf. The girl loved it so much that she wore it everywhere she went. Whether she was playing in the garden, helping her mother, or skipping through the village, the red scarf was always with her. Soon, everyone in the village began to call her by a special name, Little Red Riding Hood. One sunny morning, Little Red Riding Hood's mother came to her with a worried look. "My dear," she said, "I've just heard that your grandmother is not feeling well. I've baked some delicious cakes for her to help her feel better. Would you be a good girl and take this basket to her?" Little Red Riding Hood, who loved her grandmother dearly, immediately agreed. As her mother handed her the basket filled with goodies, she gave her a very important warning. "Now, listen carefully, my child. When you go to Grandma's, you must take the straight path through the village. Do not, under any circumstances, wander off into the forest. The forest path is shorter, but it is dangerous and full of wolves. Promise me you'll be careful." "I promise, Mother," Little Red Riding Hood said, giving her mother a hug. With a cheerful wave, she took the basket and set off on her journey. The straight path was familiar and safe, but as she walked, she couldn't help but peek at the entrance to the forest. It looked so inviting today. Sunlight streamed through the leaves, beautiful wildflowers bloomed in every color imaginable, and colorful butterflies danced in the air. Little Red Riding Hood was a playful girl, and the temptation was just too strong. "Just a little peek won't hurt," she thought to herself. Forgetting her mother's words completely, she skipped off the main road and onto the winding forest path. The air was filled with the sweet scent of pine and flowers, and she felt a thrill of adventure. As she wandered deeper, she spotted a friendly squirrel scampering down a tree trunk. The squirrel chattered at her Little Red Riding Hood. "What are you doing here? Haven't you forgotten what your mother told you? This path is dangerous. You must go back and take the straight road. If you stay in the forest, the big bad wolf will surely find you." Little Red Riding Hood just smiled. "Oh, don't worry, Mr. Squirrel," she said. "I'm just picking a few flowers for Grandma. I'll be quick." But she wasn't quick. She chased the butterflies, laughed at the funny-shaped mushrooms, and gathered a big bouquet of wildflowers. She was so caught up in her fun that she didn't notice the shadows growing longer, nor did she see two cunning eyes watching her from behind a thick bush. Suddenly, a large, dark figure stepped out onto the path, blocking her way. It was the wolf. He had a wide, toothy grin and a deep, growling voice. "Well, well, well," he rumbled. "And where might a little thing like you be off to all by yourself in my forest?" Little Red Riding Hood was so startled she nearly dropped her basket. Her heart pounded in her chest, and she trembled from head to toe. I'm going to my grandmother's house," she stammered. "She's sick, and my mother sent me to bring her these cakes to make her feel better." Hearing this, a wicked idea sparked in the wolf's mind. "A sick grandmother, you say? Delicious. I mean, how lovely. 2 meals for the price of 1. He thought to himself. Putting on a friendly face, he asked, "And where does your dear grandmother live, little one?" Still scared but wanting to be polite, Little Red Riding Hood answered, "Her house is on the other side of this forest. It's a wooden house with a tall chimney. The door isn't locked. You can just push it open." The wolf's grin grew even wider. He knew Little Red Riding Hood was easily distracted. My, he said, his voice dripping with false sweetness. "Since your grandmother is ill, a basket of cakes is nice. But wouldn't a beautiful bouquet of fresh flowers cheer her up even more? Look over there. The most beautiful flowers in the whole forest are just a little deeper in." Little Red Riding Hood's eyes lit up. "What a wonderful idea," she exclaimed, completely forgetting her fear. She thanked the wolf and skipped merrily deeper into the woods to find the prettiest flowers, leaving the path wide open. The moment she was out of sight, the wolf didn't waste a second. He turned and sprinted, taking the quickest route straight to the grandmother's house. He arrived at the little wooden house with the tall chimney in no time. Just as Little Red Riding Hood had said, he simply pushed the door and it creaked open. There, lying in bed, was the poor, sick grandmother. Before she could even let out a cry for help, the wicked wolf pounced and swallowed her in one single gulp. Gulp. Now, with the grandmother gone, the wolf had to set his trap for the second part of his meal. He found one of the grandmother's nightgowns and a frilly sleeping cap. He put them on, climbed into the bed, and pulled the blanket right up to his chin, doing his best to look like a frail old lady. He licked his lips and waited. Meanwhile, a brave hunter was walking near the edge of the forest, not far from the grandmother's cottage. As he passed by, he heard a strange and incredibly loud snoring sound coming from inside. My goodness, the hunter thought. The old woman is usually so quiet that sounds much too loud for her. I'd better check to see if everything is all right. He quietly approached the house and pushed the door open. Peeking inside, his eyes widened in shock. It wasn't the grandmother in the bed at all. It was the big bad wolf, fast asleep with a very, very full belly. The hunter immediately knew what had happened. "You villain," he whispered. "I'll bet you've eaten the poor old grandmother." Thinking fast, the hunter knew he couldn't waste a moment. He carefully took out his sharp hunting knife. With a steady hand, he made a quick, careful cut right down the wolf's sleeping belly. And who do you think popped out, safe and sound? First, Little Red Riding Hood, who had arrived just moments before the hunter and been swallowed whole. and right behind her, her dear grandmother. They were both a little dizzy, but completely unharmed. "Oh, thank you, brave hunter," they cried, hugging each other tightly. Little Red Riding Hood looked at her grandmother and then at her mother's empty basket. She felt a tear roll down her cheek. "I'm so sorry, Grandma," she whispered. "I didn't listen to my mother. I went into the forest, and it's all my fault." Her grandmother hugged her close. "The important thing is that we are safe now, and you have learned a very important lesson." From that day forward, Little Red Riding Hood was the most obedient girl you could ever imagine. She always listened to her mother's advice and never, ever strayed from the path again. She had learned that listening to those who love and care for you is the bravest and smartest thing you can do. And that, my dear friends, is the story of Little Red Riding Hood. It reminds us to always listen to the wise words of our parents and caregivers, because they always want what's best for us. I hope you enjoyed our story today. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our next magical adventure. Thanks for listening, and see you next time. Bye-bye.